Hey everybody, Bjorn Barrett here, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about the different file types that you'd be using for graphics. First of all, it's important to understand the difference between raster and vector. Raster is basically any image type that uses dots. A lot of little dots each one filled in with a solid color to make up an image. A lot of graphic photographs are that way, and that's where you get high resolution. It means it has a lot of dots per inch. TV images are made up that same exact way, where you have a lot of dots and it fills in the color. It makes really good photographic type photos. But what it doesn't do well is it doesn't scale up. So if you want to take that image and you want to make it bigger, well, what you'll get is this pixelization because it really doesn't know how to do that. It just kind of like, well, do I fill in these dots? And that's where vector comes in. Vector will take an image and it doesn't matter what scale it is. And it's because it uses to make all these curves and to make the color and the shading and everything else, it uses mathematical formulas to do that. So the mathematical formula doesn't matter whether it's really, really small or really, really big. It's going to have the same curvature. What it doesn't do very well is multicolors all mixed together. And that's kind of where you'll see some of the differences. So looking at Photopea, the next thing you want to understand is the save as PSD file versus the export. Saving it as a PSD file is a file that is really only good to use in Photopea or Photoshop or with the photo editor that you're using will have their own little extension. And the reason for that is it includes all the layering information, all the effect information, anything that you add in there, it will save so that when you reopen it, you can go back and make the tweaks that you want to make. Usually the file sizes are really, really large because it has to keep all that extra information in there. And it's not something you want to be putting on a presentation or a web page. So that's where the export comes into play. Now you see you have PNG, JPEG, SVG, GIF, and PDF are the very top ones right there. Well, PNG file, I'm going to actually start with JPEG files. JPEG files are a very popular raster image. And here's an example of a JPEG file. It's a high resolution photograph. And what it is all these little dots have different colors in them that make it up the great photo. Mind you, blowing this thing up, it'll get into that pixelization, but it makes a really good graphic. Now, this wouldn't work out very well trying to create all the mathematical equations to make all of those little tiny variants in there. And that's where SVG comes into play, where it really comes into a logo style things where it can get bigger, it can get smaller, you can change the color, you can change things right there. You don't need to worry about filling in any dots or anything else like that. Now, the middle ground of that is a PNG file. One of the biggest advantages of a PNG file is that it can have a transparent background. It is also set it up like a JPEG, so it has little tiny fill in the dots things, so you can get a more photographic image, but it's kind of like this little combination of the two. I tend to use JPEG PNGs quite a bit in my graphic editing because I can use that more photographic type of image along with a transparent background. But it has tend to be sometimes a little bit bigger than JPEGs if you have a more photographic image. Okay, thank you, and never stop learning.